That's good enough for the thumbnail.
Oh, we don't do thumbnails here. Welcome back to the podcast, Oil Drop Podcast number 48. Strome was bad all along. My name is Arun, otherwise known as Arunatic5 on Reddit. With me today is Adam, otherwise known as Sweet44722. As well, I got James, otherwise known as Paul-McCartney-. Does my voice sound weird?
Your voice always
It
sounds
always
weird.
sounds weird.
Shut up. The support is spectacular. Anyway, we'll be talking about the fact that we are continuing to be a bad team, solidly third worst or fourth worst in the NHL. The poor offense, the fact that our defense still leads to a lot of goals against, power play problems, bottom six problems, as well as other NHL stuff like the Vegas Miracle and the Arizona Disaster. Anyway, I guess I'll get started with our first talking point. James, do you want to start it off? Like, intro the talking point. Because I can't bring it up.
You can't bring it up.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Well,
it's
okay. So the Oilers, I mean, it's an Oilers topic. So we've started off 3-6-1. We're 10 games into the season. We are 1/8 of the way through the season. And we have scored a league worst 22 goals. 10 games, it's an eighth of the season. Is it time to hit the panic button? What do you guys say? What do you guys think? Like, people have been talking about a trade with Montreal for Max Pacioretty. Would you listen to that? Where are you guys' heads at?
There's a few different things in my mind. First off, scoring being a problem is probably one of the biggest problems. Just to give everyone an idea, last year, by this point of the year, we had played one more game and we had scored 7 more goals. So our scoring, unless we score 7 goals in the very next game, our scoring is down tremendously. Along with this, something that should be noted is that scoring in the league on the whole is gigantically up this season. I think it's somewhere around 3.07 goals per game that's being scored this season. And when you factor all of that in, this 22 goals that we scored so far is absolutely stupendously bad. Like, words cannot properly describe how bad this is. It doesn't help that most of our bottom six have contributed to perhaps 1 goal combined. You add in the fact that we have 6 players that have not yet scored a point, 3 players that have only scored 1 point, and our top 2 defensemen have contributed for 2 goals and 2 assists respectively, not together, not as individually they've scored 4 points. No, it's 2 goals by Adam Larsson and 2 assists by Oscar Klefbom, and it's just an absolute recipe for disaster right now that we're seeing. And the deal that's being considered on the table in terms of what fans are theorizing is picking up Pacioretty and giving up Nugent Hopkins, which is, again, a little bit of a, not necessarily a question mark, but honestly a weird point, because one of the only positives on our second line has been Nugent Hopkins.
Nugent Hopkins, pretty much the only positive.
Only
really.
positive on the second line. Yeah.
I don't get that, because Nugent's producing this year with Strome and Lucic as his wingers, arguably the 2 slowest wingers on the team, certainly 2 slowest on top 6, and it's just one of those things where it's like, oh well, let's trade the one thing that's working.
Yeah.
Not only that, I don't really trust Chia anymore with trades.
No.
Like we were hesitant initially to start the year, and then since we've seen everything go downhill, like, what are we going to do for Pacioretty? Mark Bergevin loses trades, and Mark Bergevin, I have no faith that she will win a trade against Mark. So how do we fix this? Outside of hoping that the offense can pull itself together, I don't know. Talbot's back up to a 904 instead of like the 700s they started the season on, so that's decent at least. It's just, yesterday we look at the game and the Oilers started off really well. They scored 2 in the first against a strong Capitals team. And then in the second and third, they just fell off and 5 unanswered goals. They're just unacceptable.
It was super frustrating to watch last night's game. Oh, my God. It was
And the thing
awful.
about that game too is in terms of high quality, like high danger scoring chances, we outchanced the Capitals. We outshot them, we outchanced them, and just can't put it in the back of the net.
It's worth noting every goalie we played against so far in games where we lost has had an over 9. I think it's 9.5.
9.41 is the lowest that we've seen for a save percentage in terms of goalies that we've been facing so far, and that was from a goalie that we absolutely burned last year for most of the year in Brian Elliott.
So is that just our PDO kicking us in the ass and that's going to come up, or is that an actual issue that we're running into where we're making goalies look really good for whatever reason?
Can I take this one? Okay, I'll take that as a yes. It's a lot PDO. Simply put, it's like people can complain that we're taking too many low danger shots and we're shooting it from outside of the perimeter. That's just not the case. A lot of the shots we have, I believe before the Philly, not the Philly game, sorry. Which game did we win again? Chicago, right. Before the Chicago game, we led the league in chances from the slot. So it's not as if we're shooting from outside the perimeter. We're shooting from really low danger chance areas. We're shooting from very high danger chance areas. Our expected goals percentage is fairly high. It doesn't help that our expected goals against average is also, our percentage is also fairly high as well. But on the whole, outside of Dallas, we should be one of the best teams in terms of expected goal differential in a game. For those of you that don't know or are catching this kind of statistic for the first time, expected goal for percentage is a better indicator than, say, Corsi for advanced stats. It looks at all shots that are shot, but it weighs the shots based upon, was it a deflection, where was the shot taken from, what kind of shot was it, wrist shot, slap shot, and so on, and compares it to what kind of likelihood in terms of league average that would lead to a goal versus not a goal. So shots from the perimeter will get rated poorly by this metric, and shots from high danger spots will get rated very highly. But yeah, it comes down to a lot of that, and honestly, just on a visual perspective, it seems as though it's a lot of the latter that you talked about, Adam. In that the players themselves are like, they have chances to put it in the net, and they keep, for some inexplicable reason, missing or putting it wide or something like that. And it's now it started to get on our nerves. A lot of it, we went like, oh, like Matt Murray made possibly the save of the year, and now we're going like, okay, every goalie can't be making the save of the year,
especially when scoring so far so up.
Yeah,
like it doesn't correlate with everything else that's going on in the ice.
So, for people that are wondering, it's speculated that scoring is up because there is every stick infraction is being called now. So power plays as a whole is up in the league. And also goalie equipment is now officially smaller. Although that happened partway through last season, I think.
Let's see if I can pull up the stats here.
Sorry about that noise.
Our power play right now is currently running. I'm trying to find it. Where is it? 12.1% for 29th in the league. Our power play is atrocious, and our penalty kills is second last, 70.3%. So our special teams are killing us. In a league now where we're
to give you a comparison from last season, I don't want to interrupt as well. This is just to add on to your point, Adam. Last season at this point in the year, 14.8 for power play, 89.6 for penalty kill.
So our power play was somehow 2% better last year, despite us all trying to murder Woodcroft at this point in the season. It's just in a league now where we're seeing everything called. we're taking dumb penalties, and then our penalty kill isn't following through, and we're getting penalties called for us, and we're not following up on chances.
Exactly.
Penalty, like special teams, is going to become the new biggest thing. This is going to be the way the league is going to run their reffing, and if we can't compete, then Jay Woodcroft shouldn't have a job anymore.
Yeah.
That's what we're getting to now with the scoring aspect. Do you guys see any solutions in sight? Is trading prospects not a bad idea? Should we be looking at maybe getting Shipachyov or Pacioretty, like you had mentioned, or looking at other prospects, or is this kind of thing where we have to let it work itself out for a little bit longer? I think we'll go on James in this one.
I feel like we have to let itself work itself out a little bit longer. At this point in the year, trades are so gridlocked, and GMs are in competition with each other. They're not going to do you a solid, you know. They're going to be giving you anchors when you need life jackets. They know
unless your name is Arizona for some reason.
They know that the season hasn't gotten off the way that we wanted to, so they're looking for a panic move. That's what's going to be offered to us right now. So, I mean, you got to wait a little while longer for other teams to separate themselves both higher and lower than the average. And once teams start writing off their season, Arizona, maybe Edmonton, you know, like you'll see trades start to open up from there. But right now it's too early.
Yeah.
All right, so worst comes to worst. We're back to where we were 2 years ago. We're out of the playoffs by November, even with McDavid and Draisaitl doing their damnedest. What happens? Does anything drastic happen? Do we trade a bunch of people?
Now I want people to understand the reason that we're having this discussion is if you look at it in terms of in the past years, American Thanksgiving is usually the cutoff point to tell when most teams, you can figure out where most teams will either end up in the playoffs or not in the playoffs. And when we're standing so far outside of the playoffs as we are right now and unable to string 2 wins together, it's very much a reality that we don't make the playoffs this season. That's the reason we would have this discussion.
Yeah, it's not that we're saying...
We're saying like a strange hypothetical. I want to be serious about this.
I mean, that's what we have to do.
Yeah,
that's our jobs. As you know, we have to hypothetical. We could go on a 72-0 run from now on and just end up winning everything.
It won't happen though. I'd love that. That'd be fun.
All right. So if it happened and we're in a lottery spot again, although I guess all non-playoff teams are lottery teams now, but if that happened, I don't even know. Like, would they fire Chiarelli, do you think?
So currently, by the way, we are 5 points out of a wild card. And
season's hardly started though.
6 points out of is it top 4 in division? Top 4 in division. So we're
top 3.
Top three.
Oh yeah, so yeah, we are 6 points out from from 3rd in division. So we are lagging behind.
Yeah.
6 points is quite the hefty difference there too.
It's not huge, not at this point of the season, but
gigantic.
To be fair, the top 3 teams in the division right now are LA, Vegas, and Vancouver, and LA you could see kind of staying there. Vegas and Vancouver will not stay where they're at, which is something worth noting.
No. In addition to the worth noting point, the Ducks started off really cold this season. And most of their lineup is still out with injuries, and the Calgary Flames I think have lost the 3rd game in a row. Well, I don't know if they played last night, but they've lost 2 in a row now.
James, sorry, you're going back to what we do. Do you go full scale nuclear?
Well, I don't know. You can't nuke it. You can't get rid of McDavid or Draisaitl or Clefbaum or anything like that.
Or Larson.
Or Larson. Pretty much as long as Chiarelli's here, all of his guys will stay.
Yeah.
So I think Chiarelli will leave before the players do. Lucic will not be traded. I guarantee you.
Can't be traded and he can't be bought
Russell can't be traded.
Can't be traded and can't be bought out.
He can't be moved.
I'm a
Like,
little
he will
worried.
not agree to a trade anyway. But I mean, I'm just saying, you know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah,
none
yeah.
of those players
No,
will leave before
yeah, yeah, I
Chiarelli.
understand. Yeah.
The other concerning thing, if you think about it, is Mr. Patrick Maroon has an upcoming contract, and I love the guy,
Oh
but
no.
Shirley so far has overpaid for length and term and given NMCs out like candy.
Yeah, and it
Uh,
doesn't help that Maroon has been one of our better goal scorers this season either. I'm
He,
saying
but
that like
he's
a
also
bad thing, but
he's also been playing a lot. He's taking a lot of stupid penalties that have been costing us.
yes.
he's got 8 points in 10 games. I don't know, man.
He's not playing poorly, but it's just one of those things where, you know, are we going to give him $4.5 million a year? Because Shirley seems to like him, and then he's going to get an MMC for 3 or 4 years, and he's going to play out. He's going to get to 3-4 years in a contract, and I don't know. It's just I don't trust Shirley anymore, and
Yeah.
I wish I wasn't at this point yet with another GM, but it's gotten to the point where I'm dreading trades and signings because I know it seems like it's gonna be detrimental to the team regardless of what happens.
It's like it's turning into now a common theme with Shirelli trades and signings, where it's a piece too many or a piece too less coming back our way for trades, and that's it. It's not as if it's like a huge thing. It's just one small bit, and for signings, it's like 500,000 to $1 million too much for 1 or 2 years too many.
With
And it
NTC
has
and
turned
NMC.
into an absolute theme from the support guys like Russell to trades like Hall and Eberle to major guys like Draisaitl.
I don't know, but that said, is it endemic of the system? Something the NHL maybe, but at the same, who's the other GM that will replace Shirelli at this point? Really, that's the issue, right? There's no other big guys that have been fired that you want.
No, there haven't.
And I'm sure as hell not going back to McT.
I'll bet you they would.
God,
honestly, like, yeah. McTee's problem is that McT is shit at pro scouting.
He's a great coach.
He's a great coach. There's no denying that. He may have lost the locker room in that year when we had that absolute shit roster, but there's no denying that, for a team that was basically squeaked in 8th into the playoffs, beating one of the greatest Red Wings rosters that's seen in the salary cap era, he was a good coach. But GM, on the other hand, is a big question.
Super off topic.
Yeah. No, it's good because who does replace Shirelli? And in my honest opinion, if Shirelli is fired, it won't be now. It'll be closer to the end of the year.
To be honest, what I could see happening is if we fail to make the playoffs this year, we'll see some big pieces move. Nuge is gone regardless, but we'll likely lose that trade more than anything.
We'll lose the trade.
If Strome doesn't keep up with we'll get touched on that in a second, but he might be gone. They might try to move Nurse if they really feel panicked about it, the kind of thing, especially since this stock is going up. It might be the kind of thing where we move on from a few players we saw being part of the core in the future, and then they're going to restart the year and hope it goes well. If it doesn't go well, then Shirley might get fired at the end of 2019. Is what I could see being realistic, because right now there's no one to replace him, and right now he's only 2.5 years into his tenure.
Yeah.
So it's like he's
just turned into another version of the old Boys Cup. I mean, realistically speaking, this is exactly what Boston fans have been screaming to us about. Like, a lot of Boston fans have proclaimed out loud that one of their most hated people in the last decade or two in their franchise is Shirelli, and that's mostly because he hands out bad contracts like candy, NMCs like every one of his players is trick-or-treating. It's the exact same analogy. Oh my god, I'm bad with analogies. And loses pretty much every trade while the management goes, oh, we won this trade.
Yeah, I don't know. Anyway,
Yeah, transitioning.
Can we quickly talk about Strome?
That's what
so
we're doing.
just
Yeah,
about
so
to
we're
do,
going
yeah,
to transition to
Strome.
Ryan Strome here.
Yes.
So Nick Kyprios is reporting that the Oilers management have already kind of soured on him and want to move on from Ryan Strome. So it's 10 games into the season here. Strome's stats: he's got 1 goal, 2 assists, 7 PIMs, -2. He's playing right wing for the most part. What do you guys think about that?
I mean, if it's 10 games, and the concerning thing for me is not so much that they're like, oh, well, maybe we should move him. It's 10 games they're going, well, we didn't like the trade in the first place. So then why the hell would you make the trade in the first place if you don't like it? They're just moving parts for the sake of moving parts and the salary cap dump, which Eberle now has, what, 7 points in 10 games?
He has 9 points in 11 games.
Yeah, so that's right on par with his .75 PPG.
Yeah.
And
he's right back to career average.
So it's a trade that didn't make sense at the time, unless you were looking from a salary cap dump. And now that management has come out and said that
management hasn't explicitly said it.
Well, there's been reports that management has soured on him and wants to move on.
Yeah.
That's kind of a concern. Now, I don't like Kyprios as a human being. I think he's a trash commentator, but his sources are normally pretty good, which is concerning.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're looking at this already is a loss.
Kyprios isn't like Dreger, where it's like 50% fact, 50% his extension of the fact. Kyprios is fairly reliable. And I think one of the big reasons that fans too have started to sour on Strome is the sheer fact that trade that was made was a 1-for-1. We literally speaking, we downgraded in that position, and people will point out, oh, Eberle scored his first goal, 2 goals of the season last night, but he had 6 assists before he scored those goals. And the funny thing is that he's running actually the lowest shooting percentage of his career ever, and he's pretty much due to bounce back up, and he's still chugging along at a .75. As much as you can argue that he gets the advantage from playing with John Tavares, Ryan Strome got his opportunity to play with Connor McDavid, and he couldn't make it work. Ryan Strome's been giving a lot of chances on this lineup. And realistically speaking, outside of 1 or 2 odd good moments in games, he really, I've soured on him. I do think it is fairly early in the season to give up on a player like this, and this is not the right talk from management. Even in a rumor statement that they're trying to shop Strome for a faster guy. But from the very beginning, he was never a fast guy. He was always a slow guy. I don't know where this is management thought in anywhere that they were getting a decently speedy guy from Ryan Strome.
The biggest issue that I have with it is not necessarily that he stands out in a bad way or that he's costing the team games. It's what kills me is that I don't notice him. At the end of the game, I was like, I can look at the box scores and I'm like, oh, Strome played 12 minutes tonight. Cool. I didn't notice him at all.
At all, yeah.
And that is very damning. He just does not make anything happen. I don't know what they're going to do with him. But again, it is only 10 games. You generally want to give someone a bit more than that to acclimatize to a new team.
It takes about a month.
So,
yeah.
New conference.
New conference.
Yeah. I just part of it for me, I don't really get either, is that if you look at it, Ryan Strome, like you said, Arun, is not a fast skater.
No.
Which means at some point along the line, either scouts told Chiarelli management that he's a good skater and that he would fit well in the team, or the guys themselves watched enough footage that they thought that. So then we hired a bunch of new scouts, was it last year?
Mm-hmm.
And I guess this would really be the first trade they would have been involved in, aside from the draft this year.
Mm-hmm.
That's a little concerning.
Yeah. I mean, from the very beginning, it was a cap dump. But for those of you that might argue that, like, oh, the whole point of the trade was it's a cap dump, and that was why we made the trade, there really was no need to do the cap dump because we're we're strapped for cash as a team next season, not this year. This year we already have $8 million in cap space.
We were fine. Like we didn't. It wasn't. It was making a change for making a change.
Exactly.
It wasn't making a change for monetary purposes for the next season.
Exactly.
This season, sorry.
Yeah. Continuing on at least with that lineup, I want you to get your guys' opinion on what's going on with the enigma that is the artist formerly known as Milan Lucic.
The artist formerly known as Milan Lucic. His offensive numbers are actually not awful.
They're not awful, but you could argue that it's thanks to playing with a very good Nugent Hopkins this year.
Yeah, he's only got 1 goal in 10 games, so I was hoping for a few more than that.
5 assists, though.
5 assists. You know, I can't be too hard on Lucic yet. I feel like he's sort of, I don't want to say transitioning, but I don't see him being Milan Lucic very often anymore. No. So I don't know what direction his game or his style of play is going to take. I'm not sure if this is a conscious decision for him to try and elongate his career because his previous style of play leads to a career length of like a decade. Yeah. But you know, he doesn't. He's not Keith Primo anymore. He's not Eric Lindros. That's not really what I'm seeing from him anymore. But at the same time, he's not weighing the team down. Like I don't know. He's
passable.
Yeah, you know, I'm not trying to be too hard on him because he hasn't been bad. But
he hasn't been bad. But at the same time, right, he hasn't been great either.
He's not taking a bunch of dumb penalties. He's not being stupid, but at the same time, he's the 3rd highest paid player, I think. If I'm not mistaken. And he's not like he's producing, but he's not scoring a lot of goals. That said, he looks faster this year. He came into camp and he looks leaner and faster, which is for a guy that's 28 years old is a good sign.
29,
but it's just
he's turning 30 this season.
Yeah, it's one of those
we
things.
We haven't signed on until he is 35 years old.
Oh, like that's.
I don't mean to be the bearer of bad news, but this is sort of the reality of what we're dealing with.
If he can play like this for another 3 years, if you get to 33 and he's still all right, then I think we've gotten the contract worth, and you can try to trade him for peanuts. But right now,
last game for sure was not a good game from him. He had a really bad game last game.
It's my problem so far this season not with Lucic though, and in the past it has been not this year. What's worth noting, actually, I pulled up a comment from Panoramic from the sub, and so between Kajula, Kara, Slepyshev, Pakarinen, Jokinen, and Kassian, 42 total games, 0 goals, 1 assist, -10. So that's our bottom 6 in our depth. Now, and to be fair, Kajula was injured for a good portion, and Kassian is not getting a lot of playing time for whatever reason. I'm not entirely sure why that is, but that you got to have secondary scoring.
I'm guessing Kassian isn't. Sorry, I'm going to interject here. I'm guessing Kassian isn't getting the minutes because he's 2nd on the team for penalty minutes.
Yeah, I mean he's not playing the smart hockey that he was last year, but it's if you
mind you, everything's getting called this year, but yeah.
If you look at the bottom 6 right now, they are producing nothing. When on the ice, they're either in their own end or they're dumping the puck and then immediately turning around and losing it. Like they're not hitting, they're not creating chances, they're not playing well defensively. There's a black hole of suck right now.
Yeah, I know. I think one of my favorite comments this year, and I sent it to you guys, is compared from this year to last year. At this point in the season, our biggest problem last year was that we were losing pretty much every face-off. I miss sucking at face-offs.
Yeah, our face-offs are better.
Our face-offs, like, basically, Nugent Hopkins is better. Nugent Hopkins has been 56% on the dot. He's been better than he's been outside of I think Letestu and Patrick Maroon, who switches in to take the odd face-off. He's been the best face-off guy.
So I've kind of realized now. So today, 1, 2, 3, we have 3 days off again. The last time we had 3 days off, we ran the fuck over.
Yep. I want to quickly extend, sorry, Adam, off of your point in terms of our bottom 6 not scoring. So that bottom 6 that's not scoring, Pakarinen, Slepyshev, Jujar, Kyra. It's not really fair, though. He hasn't really played that many games. Kajula, Jokinen, Cassian, among them 2 assists. Letestu is our best bottom 6 forward with 2 goals, both of them on the power play. Adam Larson has been our top scoring defenseman, double checking on that before I say that, with 2 goals, and that's it. Our best defenseman last year was Oscar Clefbaum, who started off the season with 2 assists in 10 games. Our best defenseman has been Chris Russell, 1 goal, 3 assists. Simply put, beyond McDavid, Maroon, Draisaitl, Nugent-Hopkins, and you could say outside of not scoring assists, Lucic, there is nothing on the team that's contributing offensively.
It's just not working.
And it doesn't help that this is the year where there's so many power play chances that you're getting guys like Stamkos at starting the year with 20 points in 12 games.
20 points in 10 games. He's at 22 now in 12 games.
22 in 12 games. Sorry.
Him and Kucherov right now are scoring more points per game than the Oilers are goals per game.
Goals per game. That's combined individually, right?
I think that might have changed since this past game, since he actually scored a few goals. But before this game, the Stamkos and Kucherov are producing more points per game, both of them, than the Oilers were producing goals per game.
Yeah.
But anyway, so James, possible solution to the endemic offense, not anemic offense, sorry. Jesse Puljujarvi, 3 points in 7 AHL games this year. Do you keep him down? Do you call him up and try to fix the problem here? What do you do here?
They're all assists, just to add to that.
Yeah, he hasn't earned a call-up on merit. But there are people that play better in the NHL than they do in the AHL. I don't know why that happens, but undeniably it does. Yeah, I don't think I would call him up yet, but it's definitely something to look at as the year goes on, because right wing is such a sore spot for us. You know, if you go down the list, it's like, okay, so there's Yamamoto, there's Strome, there's Kajula, and there's Cassian. And like, really, none of those guys inspires confidence for offense at the NHL level. So Puljujarvi might be an option. You know, I have to hope that he has gotten to be tougher. When I saw Puljujarvi playing in the preseason, I thought he was scared of the puck. Not of the puck, but like scared of body contact and scared to really engage the play. So, you know, he's got to get over that. And I think that there's talent there, but
Can I jump in with that comment? And it feels as though a lot of our newer players are feeling the very same thing. It's not that it's like they're scared of touching the puck or anything like that, but they're scared of doing anything risky offensively. They're so focused on playing defense right that, like, when you need to, for example, when Nurse needs to make that pinch or needs to make the pinch right, he's messing up, and that's leading to chances against. And I will admit, Nurse has looked much better this season, but his offense has been just as bad as it was last season.
It's true. Yep.
And to extend off of that, Yamamoto, it's pretty much exactly the same thing. He's always looking to pass the puck. He's too afraid to shoot it. And that speaks for itself that he even though he's been looking like one of our better players in the past 10 games, of which 7 he's played, he has 3 assists to speak for it.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of which, then, we've scored more goals in the last couple of games, but we've looked worse. So does Yamamoto play these last 2 games against sent down? Right now he's been riding pine for the last couple of games, probably learning the game from the box, watching and taking notes. But what do we? Because I know we've talked about it, but at this point we're at his 7-game mark. He has 2 games left before we decide. We're 10 games in. Our offense is bad.
If we send him down, we got Pakarinen, I guess, would slot into that top 4 on the right wing somewhere. So then it would be like Strome. Well, you got Draisaitl. Like Draisaitl and McDavid, they have to play together for the time being because that works. But so there's Draisaitl, then Strome, then Pakarinen, and then Cassian, and then second line is Nuge and Lucic. Like, I want McDavid and Draisaitl to have their own lines, but it just is not working right now. You have to keep them together.
Yeah.
If you put down Yamamoto, I guess, because I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Pakarinen is just as effective as Yamamoto right now. So.
Pakarinen's less effective than Yamamoto, honestly, because he has
probably
no contributions. Even in penalty minutes that he's taken 2. Like it's as if he's not even there. Like 6 shots in 7 games is pathetic, and that's not like normal of him at all, to be honest. Him and Slepyshev have 14 shots between them in 7 games that they played.
I don't know what his time on ice is per game, but he's only played 7 games, so I mean, he's probably playing less than 10 minutes a game for the games that he does play. So I don't know.
At least it's not like Kajula, who's turned into, I don't know what Kajula's turned into this season.
Sophomore slump.
Yeah.
The embodiment of a sophomore slump.
I mean, like, the best way to describe this team right now is Connor McDavid leads the team in goals. He leads the team in assists. He leads the team in points. He leads the team in power play points. Double checking that. Yep. He leads the team in game-winning goals. He leads the team in shots. And he also leads the team in plus-minus.
It's McDavid, a little bit of Draisaitl, some Nugent Hopkins sprinkled in there.
Yeah, with some Nugent Hopkins sprinkled in there, And that's pretty much it. It's a huge follow-up after that point. And those two, like, of all those stats that I said, like game-winning goals and whatnot, power play points, he leads the team tied with Russell and Letestu with 2 power play points.
Yeah, Letestu's been disappointing as well.
No, Letestu has 2. He leads the team in power play goals.
I know, but he can still be disappointing.
He's disappointing, yeah. No, even with him disappointing, he's still like one of our best, which speaks volumes to how the team is doing right now.
Yeah. Okay, so going back to your original question, Jesse Puljujarvi maybe later in the season, but as it stands right now, even with sending Yamamoto down, Pakarinen can probably step in and do relatively the same job as Yamamoto. So Puljujarvi, he hasn't earned a call-up yet, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. And I think, personally, at this point where if we're going to be playing this poorly, Yamamoto's not going to make a major... Yamamoto's not going to turn the season around. So I think
exactly.
You got... What is that?
Sorry, that was a chair.
You got to...
he's farting profusely right now. Jesus.
I wouldn't be surprised. Trumpet noises there. You got to send him down at this point. Let him get the CHL conditioning. Let him build that leadership role. Let him dominate.
He'll probably go to the World Juniors too.
Yeah, simply because we sit around and go like, "Oh, he's one of our better forwards this year." You don't like impact his development like that. So you could be talking about the difference between a guy that is a top 9 forward right now, like he's appearing right now, because a lot of the offense that he's contributed is mostly because of playing with McDavid. I mean, playing with McDavid plays a huge part in all of this, versus a solid top-level winger, perhaps after some solid conditioning and getting his confidence up to the right levels. Because we're still talking about a guy that's weighing around 150-some pounds.
Mm-hmm. He's a small guy.
Yeah, he's a small guy. And it stands out. Yeah,
so,
sorry.
Moving on to the NHL stuff. So Arizona has 10-1. Their subreddit is now turned into pictures of coyotes, literally pictures of baby coyotes.
Baby coyotes. Yeah.
What the hell is going on? Vegas is 8-1, 8-1-0, 8-1-0.
Yeah. Works.
so.
Yeah.
Yes.
Vegas is 8-0-1. Sorry, Vegas is 8-0-1. Who's the bigger
8-1-0.
surprise? Who's the bigger surprise? And what changes first?
Okay, give me a moment to organize some stat leaders.
To me, Vegas is the bigger surprise. And any given season, I can pretty much expect Arizona to be shitty. For pretty much their entire existence, they've been pretty irrelevant. An expansion team coming in like Vegas has done, and the way that George McPhee put the team together, you looked at his transactions and the expansion roster choices that he made, and he's like, you are more concerned that this is what I thought. You are more concerned with keeping friends than building a competitive hockey team. That's what I thought with his moves, and I think that they're successful in spite of McPhee, not because of him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you ready, or you want me to go first?
Yeah, I am ready. A huge part of why I think my bigger surprise is obviously it's Vegas, because if we're talking like 6 wins and 3 losses, that would make sense. But no, that's 8 of 9 that they've won so far. That being said, a lot of their games are played at home. They've had perhaps one of the easiest schedules so far in the league, where they get to play a lot of really strong teams on their second game in a back-to-back. Hello? Did I lag out?
Nope.
Sorry, James's eyes were like still shut. That was weird. But I did want to comment on the fact that if Arizona got league average goaltending, how different they would be. Louis Dominique is pretty much done as an NHL goaltender in any capacity, starter or backup. In 7 games that he's played, he's sporting a 4.33 for goals against and a .856, which is bad. Along with that, their other goalie, who's very much not ready for the big league, but he shows a lot of promise. Adin Hill, 3 games played, .880376. It's quite bad. It's also quite bad considering Cam Talbot's in this list here, although he sports a save percentage just above 900 now. And then probably the key reason why Vegas is doing as well as they are, we're talking about a team that has Oscar Dansk now, their 3rd string goaltender, with the highest save percentage in the league, the lowest goals against average in the league, and the highest win percentage in the league. It's what the hell are they doing? Like, along with that, Malcolm Subban too, with a 936 and a 206. Holy shit! And then obviously Fleury, who's on injury reserve. Sorry, that was a long comment. I'll throw it to Adam.
The Coyotes are. Everyone was praising them how they won the offseason, and they were going to be great. And then you look at the goaltending, and why the hell did they start with Domingue? That doesn't make any sense.
Well, they didn't. They started with Ranta. Ranta's injured.
Right, Ranta's still out.
Ranta's injured.
It's just one of those things where it's like, even if they had halfway decent goaltending, their offense has still been bad. But if you look at the team, so with Vegas is obviously the bigger surprise. But if you look at the teams they played, Dallas, Arizona, Detroit, Boston, Buffalo, St. Louis, Chicago, Colorado, and the only team they lost to was Detroit.
And that Detroit team was very good at that time. Now they've lost 3 in a row.
Yeah. So it's just they've had the benefit of easier starts, and they've played a lot at home. They haven't traveled a lot, but it's like James said. I think they're winning in spite of GM right now.
Yeah. And to point out why we are talking about GM and his moves that are question marks, that sort of leads us to our next point with what's his name again? I can't pronounce his name.
Vladim Shipachyov.
Shipachyov, yeah. James, did you want to introduce that topic?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's a Russian forward that they brought over from the KHL. He was an off-season free agent signing. The guy is not young for an NHL player. He's 30, so he's been around for quite a long time. He is or was a star in the KHL. He has not really been given much of a chance to show what he can do in the NHL.
Yeah.
And so they sent him down to the AHL to play with the Chicago Wolves, and he said, "Fuck that." And so now he's suspended, and
by the
because
team.
he's being suspended, he is not being paid, which I don't imagine he's too happy about.
His contract that he was signed to is 4.5 million, or it's 9 million over 2 years. So the cap hit is 4.5.
There you go. So,
it just for me that doesn't. So you bring over a player from the KHL, you give him a $4 million contract.
You promise him as your first line center.
You didn't promise him first line center, but you promised him NHL minutes, and in the hopes that, hey, this is our new franchise. You can be the face of the new franchise. And you go, yeah, why not, right? Make some good money. He then comes here. He plays 2 games.
Three games, 10 minutes each game.
Right. Plays almost no minutes at all, and then is then sent down to the Chicago Wolves, which are on the other side of the country, which we reported to. But if you think about it, he doesn't speak English that well. He was promised to be this team. It doesn't. McPhee is burning bridges at this point for any free agents that are going to go there, because you're not going to believe him anymore. Oh yeah, I promise you minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah. It's, to be honest, I think realistically what the Oilers should do right now is potentially look into picking him up, because he wants to leave. What they're saying right now, I think it was Friedman came out with a statement today saying, if he's not traded by the end of today or tomorrow, it's more than likely to be a contract termination. He'll go back to the KHL.
Yeah,
that's so stupid. Oh my god!
It'll ruin the NHL for a lot of there's
for every team,
right? Yeah, like if you look at it, KHL goes, well, why the hell am I going to go over there now, right? I'll stay here, play in the Olympics, make good money here and actually play hockey.
Yeah.
But then the other side you look at it, Vegas is not going to attract any free agents now. Who the hell is going to go to Vegas?
I'm going to interject on your point there, Adam. I still think Vegas is going to attract free agents because money is still money. And money is what makes the world go around. But I do agree with you that it's a huge impact for NHLers that have transitioned over. Because for now, like, as much as you can say that there's a lot of success stories, all you need is one horror story. And then every player will refer to that horror story. Because now for your Zaitsev, your Radulov, your Zadarovs, and so on.
But it is Las Vegas.
Yeah.
People want to live in Las Vegas, at least for a couple of years. I mean, it does have a reputation or a mystique or whatever. You know, it's Vegas. It's Vegas. That's all you have to say. Mm-hmm. People want to live there. Mm-hmm. So,
I mean, the other side of the coin, like there was 2 statements that came out where with Shipachev's situation, where he's like, yeah, he came over, they're paying him, he's supposed to be a top center, but then Zaitsev said, it's the NHL, nothing's guaranteed, you work for what you get. Obviously, he didn't show enough, and it's kind of 2 very different. So at the same time, like I'm like, oh well, it's going to ruin it, but I think for players to come over, if you look at it, it's an interesting dialogue between. It seems like 2 different perspectives on the NHL between Russians.
When Zaitsev first played the games that he did play, he took a long time to get accustomed to playing in the NHL. Mm-hmm. So, like, as much as you could say, like, there's truth in his statement, you can't determine how good a player would play in the NHL from 30 minutes.
No.
And everyone, at the unwritten rule right now for why, okay, let's be honest here, the unwritten rule for why he's being sent down to the AHL isn't because of some magical, he's not playing well in the NHL, is because McPhee couldn't figure out how to make contracts work, drafted too many defensemen in the expansion draft, and now has to play around with contracts like, I keep mispronouncing his name, and I can't remember it. Schleppish. How do you pronounce his name? The Russian guy we're talking about?
Shipachev,
yeah. like they're sending him down to the AHL because that's a contract you can send down without it going through waivers.
I don't know, but at the same time,
That's why he's being
Zaitsev,
sent down. That's why he started the season in the AHL.
If you look at Zaitsev again, though, Zaitsev is playing for the Toronto Maple Leafs, who are one of the best up-and-coming teams in the league. He's playing on a team coached by Mike Babcock, where you don't get to say stuff and just go along with it. You follow the order, or you get shipped out. You know, Frankie Corrado thought he was NHL material, and then we saw the statement from Babcock saying, you know, there are players that we have that think they can play in the NHL. They go and they find out differently, and so you know, it's. I think that's going to affect perspectives from Russian players too. But it's a tough situation for Shipchyov and his family, and it's a dumb situation from McPhee's standpoint.
Yeah, I guess.
I don't know.
I think one thing is for absolutely sure, like Vegas right now is not winning because of GM. They are winning in spite of GM.
Yeah, I think that's what
I would say that.
Yeah. Do you guys have anything to add about perhaps other NHL teams, Montreal continuing to do bad, or Toronto's recent stringing together of some losses?
Well, I was gonna say. So, what happened? Which team breaks first? The Canadians or the Rangers? Who makes changes first?
Ooh, probably the Rangers.
They've both been pretty awful. They're both right now. Montreal's 3-7-1 with 23 goals for and 42 against, and we're looking at the Rangers at 3-7-2 with 34 goals for and 43 against. So they're pretty much identical, but the Canadians have scored 11 less goals.
Montreal is a super impatient crowd. Carey Price's contract extension for $10.5 million per season doesn't kick in until next year. If he does not perform up to the expectations of that contract, he will be murdered by the Montreal crowd, man. It'll be bad.
The funny thing, too, is like a lot of what's happening defensively is not his fault at all. Like it's just absolute defensive collapses where there shouldn't be defensive collapses. Yeah, the easiest way to burn this Montreal team is to get an odd man rush. You pretty much will score.
I mean, who do they have on their defense right now? It's Shea Weber, Petrie,
Jeff Petrie,
Davidson, yeah. Jordy Ben, sorry.
Victor Mete,
who
I don't know how to say his name.
Canadian fans are convinced is the second coming of Andrei Markov.
He's been playing like garbage the last little bit.
Yeah, I mean 1 point probably speaks for itself.
They had Mark straight for 2 games.
Right. Yeah, and then put him on waivers and
for an unconditional buyout. Yeah.
Yeah. He's probably gone back to Switzerland now. I think
won't be surprised. Yeah, I don't know.
And not to mention that the Russian, departing from the whole team.
Radulov,
Markov, freaking, I can't name all of them. Jesus, they had so many Russian players to none.
I could see this year being the year either Galchenyuk gets moved for peanuts or Bergevin's gone.
I hope Bergevin's gone. Bergevin, he makes too many risky moves. That's the simplest way to put it. Yeah.
For the sake of Berkshire,
but I will argue though that before he gets moved, Alain Vigneault is going to get fired. I think that's what's going to happen first.
Yeah, normally coaches are fired before.
We know the news from Canada because we know what are the biggest followed teams in Canada. But as like an absolute statement, like among American teams, the one with the hardest media following is the New York Rangers. They are fanatical in terms of their media, as well as the people within the town that support the team. So yeah. But I think absolutely it's going to be that's what's going to happen. I think Vigneault is going to be the first to go.
Could see it. So
and then he's gonna take another team to the Stanley Cup Finals, Game 7, and lose that one too.
I bet you Paul Maurice gets fired pretty soon too if Winnipeg doesn't right their ship here.
If Winnipeg doesn't turn it around, yeah, that team should be better than they are.
2 OT losses in a row. They're just 1-goal games. It's I don't know. That's a question mark right now.
Yeah,
it's always goaltending though for Winnipeg. You know, even
Hellebuyck has been great this season.
Even when they were in Atlanta, they had shitty goaltending. Hellebuyck's been all right.
Yeah. Yeah, and the funny thing too is whenever they trade away their goaltenders, like Lednin, they go on to become fantastic for Dallas.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say.
Well, afterward, he had one really good season before being signed onto that contract, and you could argue that Dallas has had that season one of the worst defensive cores in the league, especially when John Klingberg isn't playing as well as he should be. Right. Anyway, that's pretty much brings us to the end of our podcast. Unless you guys, sorry, Adam, I interrupted you.
Nope, I was just say the same thing. Leave or anything else.
Yeah, that pretty much brings us to the end of our podcast. Thank you very much for joining us here. We covered some pretty significant topics. I guess in other terms of other news concerning the podcast, we are considering starting up perhaps on Twitch some game streams where we play, say, something like Super Mario Galaxy and we do solo streams, or we play some Rocket League between 2 or 3 of us. We'll be figuring that out slowly and gradually, mostly because we want to do some other stuff, and editing is not our greatest forte. We have tried recording other formats and other things before, and the quality turns out to be very poor, and we don't end up putting forward to actually publishing it. Anyway, that's basically what's going on with us, and I don't mean to say that in any kind of negative way. But hopefully that you guys will follow us with our other streams if we do them. Anyway, this has been me, Arunatic5, otherwise known as Arun. With me today was Adam, Schweet44722, as well as James, otherwise known as Paul-McCartney-. Hopefully the Oilers will turn it around, but in the meantime, I hope you will like, comment, and subscribe on this video, and we will see you in another 2 weeks. Thank you very much for joining us today, and that's it from us.